Hi guys, my name is Biora. In the last video, we worked on getting... Hi guys, my name is Biora. In the last video, we worked on taking a look at Spica's SoloQ match history, and we ended up getting one of his games. In this video, we're going to look at processing that game and setting up the infrastructure to process future games. So like every video, first thing we have to do, we have to go to developer.riotgames.com. We have to regenerate our API key, and then I'm going to copy that. I'm going to open VS Code, and then inside my .env file, I'm going to replace my old API key with the new one. And in my Jupyter notebook, I'm going to restart this whole notebook so that it updates the information. And then I'm going to run the cell with all of my information in it. I'm going to probably get rid of most of this stuff. I'll add this to the first cell up here so that we have that there, but I'll get rid of most of this stuff. So let's take a look at Spica's match history one more time. I'm going to grab his PUUID first. So I think the easiest way is just to go to the ladder and grab it from there, because I'm assuming he's still here somewhere. Yeah, so I'll grab this, and then I will do get PUUID, summoner ID equals that. Yeah, there you go. And then we will do get match history, region, I'm assuming this is match v5, so America's PUID equals that. Okay, so we'll take this game, and I want to take a look at that. So what we'll do is we'll say get match data from ID, region is America's, match ID equals that, and this is our data here. I'm going to turn that into a scrollable element so you can see everything inside. It's a huge file, and we are going to have to process this information. Now, the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to go back to the APIs, and we're going to decide what we want out of that information. So let's go to match v5, and under this endpoint, this is all the info that is in here. So I'm going to make a notepad, and we can decide what we're looking for here. So under the metadata DTO, I want match ID. Don't really care about the data version because I don't believe that that is the patch. Although if it is, then I do want that. Let me check actually. Yeah, no, not the patch. I don't care. I do want participants, and when I have this inside my data frame, I'm probably just going to leave this as a list. I'm not going to say like participant 1, participant 2, etc., because that's a bit much. I'm also going to grab game creation, but this is under the info DTO. So game creation, I want game duration, and let's do game start and end timestamps. So take that and that. Game mode is going to be assumed to be ranked, and game ID I'm assuming is similar. Game name I don't really care about. Game type again don't really care about. Game version I do care about. So game version, and I want to call this as patch. Map ID don't care. Participants, this is going to be its own DTO actually, so I don't really need that on this list here. Platform queue, teams, tournament code, do not care about any of those. This actually might be useful for some people. I don't personally care, but if you're running tournaments or doing this for any kind of tournament API, you might want that. But I personally do not care. And then under the participant DTO. Now this is under the info DTO, and the info DTO is under match. So let me just, so match, metadata, match, info, and then this is match, info, participant. The reason why I'm doing this is just so that I can have a healthier look at the sort of architecture as I'm building my data frame here. So I want assists. I don't really care about, I mean, this is where you can get creative. I don't really care about Baron kills, but maybe you do. I don't really care about bounty level, etc. I will grab champ level. I want the champion ID, and this is going to be per person. So per person, their kills, deaths, assists, champion ID, what level they were, etc. I do want champion transform. Detector wards place is control wards placed, I believe, which is just good for vision tracking. And dragon kills is per person. I don't know. I think that there's one for team also. So if I come down here to the team DTO, I think they have one for, yeah, team has, okay. So it's in there for the teams. I don't need to worry about it on a personal level. I do want first blood kill. I want game ended in early surrender, and game ended in surrender, in case I want to filter out situations where I don't want games that ended in surrender. Gold earned is pretty useful. I would get gold spent, but it's most of the time going to be similar to gold earned because you can't look at it at like on a minute per minute basis. It would be useful if I could look at like a team fight and say, you know, on average, how much gold are we going into a team fight with? Like, are we spending our gold before team fights? But most of the time it's just going to be, did we spend all of our gold before the game ended? And who really cares, in my opinion. So there's a note here about individual position and team position. TLDR, it says to use team position. So I'm just going to not worry about individual position right now. I do want item 0, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5, item 6. I want kills. I don't really care about like killing sprees and largest critical strike, etc. Let me see if there's anything here. Neutral minions killed is going to be CS. Neutral minions killed. Kind of interested in objectives stolen. Kind of. I don't know. It seems interesting. Objectives stolen, and I guess objective stolen. I don't know. That's it's pretty useless, but just interesting. I'm just curious. I do want participant ID because that is good for filtering. It's the same reason why we grab match ID up here. Perks, definitely want that, but that is his own DTO, so I'll go into that later. So we'll say match info participant perks DTO. PUID can also be in here, and I'm probably going to reorganize this later. Riot ID name, Riot ID tagline, I want that. We can try role, but I think that's the same as team position, so we'll see how that ends up working. I don't really care about how many times they cast each of their spells, I'll be honest with you, or how many times they cast each of their summoner ID or summoners, but I do want to know what they took. So summoner 1 ID and summoner 2 ID. I'm also going to include their actual summoner ID just in case it's needed, and summoner name. We can include total damage dealt to champions and total damage shielded on teammates, stuff like that, because we can do like damage per minute and damage shielded per minute, etc. Maybe total damage taken also for the same reason. Total heals on teammates for the same reason. Total minions killed. We'll do total time CC dealt. Turrets lost is interesting. I wonder if that's team wide or just personal. I'll check, and if it is team wide, then it might be worth looking into. We can do wards placed, wards killed, and win is just whether or not they won the game, which is very important to grab. We can grab vision score too. I don't know what vision wards bought in game means. If that means control wards, then I don't know why they would add the one that we grabbed earlier, which is detector wards placed. I guess it's weird. Okay, vision wards bought. I'll just add it. We'll see what it looks like. Vision wards bought in game. And then here in the perks DTO, I want both of these, I guess. So I want the interesting. Wow, these are fucking nested in here. So I want the stat perks. No, I want, sorry, perk stat detail. And then from there I want defense, flex, offense, which has now changed very recently. And then I want perk style DTO. And from there I want just the style actually. And then I also would like the selections, perk, style, selection, DTO. And I want perk, var 1, var 2, var 3. And then for team DTO, I want specifically the objectives. That's what I care about. You can also grab bands, I guess, but I don't know, maybe bands are interesting actually. Let's include bands. So we'll say team DTO, band DTO. I want specifically the champion IDs. I don't care about the pick order of bands. And then I also want team DTO objectives. And in each of these objectives, there's actually a nested objective DTO, which has if they killed the first one in the game. So if they got the first dragon, first baron, etc., and then how many times they killed it. I'm not gonna like write all that in here, but you know, basically I just want all the objectives. So Baron, Dragon, Rift Herald. Although they don't have the new little grubs, which is interesting. I don't know if they've added that in there somewhere, if this is outdated, or I don't know, we'll see. So I want Tower also. I guess we can grab Inhibitor, but it doesn't really matter. Okay, that is pretty much everything. It's a ton of stuff. These games they have a lot of data, right? But it's good to do this so I can just see what I'm looking at and what I want to grab. I will replace this here with VS Code like that. This way I have it on the side. So this is what we're gonna do. I'll clean this up later, but we're gonna say game for now equals that. Now game is this, right? And I want to grab from the metadata, I want match ID and I want participants. So we'll say match ID, and I'm going to change the way that I'm naming this. I do this just as my own practice. I don't know if this is standard, but this is me saying to myself that this is Riot's name for this. This is my name for this. So I know if I'm looking at the direct from Riot or if I'm looking at my own processed like variable for that, just so anyone's, if anyone's curious. And I'll do participant equals that. And I'm just going to show you. So I want participants to stay as a list when I put this in the data frame. So I'm going to keep it like that. And I'm just going to kind of do this for everything. And one thing I can do just for the ease of not writing as much words is I'm going to say metadata equals that. And this way I can just replace all that with metadata. That's why I included this stuff here. And then I can say info equals game info. And I can say participants equals, I'll say player because I don't want to get it confused with this here. So I'll say player equals info participant, which I believe is never mind. So player, I want the first player. Let's see if this is everything. Okay, so that's what I wanted. And then I can say perk equals player perks. Oh, I'd have to do per player. So it would be for player in players. I'll make this players, player in players, and we'll put this above that. So for player in players, perk equals player perks. And then we want to get their stats. So stats equals perks, stat perks. And then styles equals perks, styles. And what we're going to want to do eventually is we're going to want to say primary style equals styles 0, and then secondary style equals styles 1. And we also want to get their team. So that's team is out of the info DTO. So info teams, and then for team in teams, we want to get their bands. So that's team bands. And everything here should work so far. Cool. And then we also want to get objective stuff, right? So for team in teams, first let me take a look at team. So let's look at teams 0. I want to grab objective. So object equals team objectives. And then I want Baron equals Baron. And then I want kind of the same. Oh, Horde. This must be the new little guys, right? So we'll say dragon equals object dragon. I'm just going to copy paste this and we'll just change this like that. It's quicker. Dragon. I want grubs, which in this case is actually Horde. So this is not faster, but Horde. I want Rift Herald. And again, I'm just going to make a change here. And then we'll do tower and inhibitor. So tower and inhibitor. Yeah, cool. And then what I'll do is we'll name this OBGS. And I'll say for objective in, and I'll make a list of these. So Baron, Dragon, Grubs, Rift Herald, Tower, Inhib. And I'll say I want to eventually grab the first, first and then kills. So, and this will have to be objective kills because I'll need the regular kills later. You know what I want to do actually? Instead of getting all players, I really just want the player that I'm curious about. So instead of doing like this, player is going to be one person actually, and player is going to be the player that we care about. So we're going to say player is going to be info. No, player is going to be participants. Just a quick note, this should be players, not participants. You'll see that change. And then what I want is the participant with the index of the PUID that I'm going to input later. So in this case, I want PUID to be this. I'll do the bands for both teams, but what I want to do is actually just do the information for the team that the player that I'm curious about is on. So I'm going to say we're only going to do this if team ID is equal to player team ID, and the bands I'll sort out later. Although, do we actually get bands? We don't even, I don't know. I think I had a problem with the bands. I was looking at my other code and I was wondering why I didn't include bands, but I think it doesn't actually work. So I'm actually just gonna get rid of that for now. Maybe it does in the future. I'll fix it later, but this is team stuff for now. Now let's go back to player stats. So for player stuff, actually, let me start with the match info. So I want the game creation. So let's do info game creation. I want the game duration, and I maybe just speed through this in like a montage kind of thing because it's gonna take a while. But I want game start timestamp. I want game version. Actually, I want patch equals info game version, and then I'm taking this from here, by the way, if you see. So in case you're curious, that's where I'm getting all that stuff from. I want assist equals player assist in this case. I want jump level, that's coming from player jump level. I want jump ID. Let me actually just make speed, make things a little faster. I want jump transform, which is going to be champion transform. And I want deaths. I don't actually know what this is, so I'm gonna put that down here. We're gonna say, I'm gonna put a comment that says, what, sorry, what is this? I'm curious, detector, words placed. I want first blood, early surrender equals game ended in early surrender. Surrender equals game ended surrender. Gold earned is gold earned. Item 0 equals item 0. Got wrist pain just from doing this. Item 2, or item 1, item 1. Copy this, rest of speed. 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Kills is player kills. Neutral means killed is player neutral means killed. I do want Riot ID equals player Riot ID name. Riot tag equals player Riot ID tagline. Try roll equals player roll. Again, with this ID, what is this? I don't actually know what that's in return. I'm curious. Summoner 1 ID equals player summoner 1 ID. And we'll just take this, copy it. That's summoner 2 ID. And then summoner ID is the player summoner ID, so player summoner regular summoner ID. And I want their summoner name, which is player summoner name. We'll do total damage dealt is player total damage dealt champions. Total damage shielded equals player total damage shielded on teammates. Holy shit, damage taken, player total damage taken. Sorry, total deals on teammates. Total minions killed equals player total minions killed. Total time CC dealt equals that. Words placed equals player words placed. Words killed is player words killed. Vision score is player vision score. Vision words bought. I don't know this one actually. I'll put that on there. Is player vision. So one of these is control words, one is not. I don't know which one switch. And when is player. That is why the player won the game. So that's all the player stuff up here, and then we're gonna have to do. And let me sort this a little bit. So let's do any kind of like champion. We'll do champion ID and transform near the top. I want the level of the champion. We can put that near the top. Kills, deaths, and assists should go together. So put that here in its own little thing. That's KDA. First blood can go with KDA. Early surrender and surrender can go on their own. Gold earned can kind of go on its own for now. I'll put that with minion kills and total minion kills, which we're gonna just add these up for CS later. Items can go on their own. Riot ID and tag can go on its own. And then summoner ID and summoner name can go with Riot ID and tag. And we'll put these at the top. And then we can do objective stuff together. So I'll put objectives near the bottom because that's where the team objectives are gonna be. I also have to do the perks in a bit too. And then this is damage stuff, or like this is like team fight related stuff. So I'll put that near the kills, deaths, and assists. Maybe I put gold earned above KDA. Put items here, and this is summoner ID 1 and 2. We can maybe put that near the top because that's what they're taking. Actually, no, we'll leave it there. And then this is vision stuff, and then win can be near the top too. Actually, win can be right here. So as far as ordering, just so I can have a healthier understanding of what's where, and then we have to do perks. So also let me change this real quick before I forget. Gold earned is gold earned. Okay, and that all runs. That's good. Now for perks. Let me think. So what does primary style look like? Primary style looks like that. So what I want is actually the primary style. Let me think. What we'll do is we'll say primary is this and secondary is that. And then primary style is primary style. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a sec, just for the sake of ease. And then we'll say primary keystone is primary selections. And it's the first selection of the primary selections. So that'll be selections 0. And in this case, it's just this here. So it's that, and then perk. And then I'll do primary perk 1 is this with a 1 here. And then 2 and 3 is 2 and 3. And then we'll do the same thing for secondary. So secondary, actually, sorry, grab these. Secondary perk, but this needs to be 0 and then 1, 2, like that. And this will be secondary. Another quick note, just make sure to change the variable to secondary on the right side of the equal sign as well. That's something I also do later in the video, but I just want to make sure you don't get caught there. And that should work actually. Cool. So if I say primary keystone, that's that, and then primary perk 1. Okay. So that actually is working. So the perks are all sorted now. I do want the stats though. So what is in stats? Let's say defense, flex, and offense. We'll put here defense equals stats defense, and then we'll do offense and flex, although that's in the wrong order. So I'll just, for the sake of understanding, I'll do it like that. And then I'm going to take these, actually, I'm going to put them near the top because these are more like architecture things, not like actual values of anything. I'm going to put player here like that. So I'm going to call this arc, and then this is just so I can kind of separate that. And I'll put this near the bottom. Let me think. Okay, so now what do I want to do for these objectives? I might just remove that entirely. And we'll say, this is gonna be fucking annoying, actually. I'll deal with that later. Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna build a data frame out of all this information. So let's start by saying match df equals pd.dataframe. And then kind of like before, we're gonna have to do a lot of annoying writing here, but it's gonna be essentially everything that we had there. So match ID is match ID, and you have to put everything in a list here, specifically because we're just looking for one row of information. And so we want a list that is one line long, essentially. Otherwise it'll give you a scalar issue. And then participants is participants. Game creation is game creation. Put that in a list. And I'm probably just going to speed through this because it's going to be really annoying, but you get the point. Okay, and so I did all that. I kind of just skipped through it for your sake, really. But I basically just took everything from above and put it into a data frame here, making sure that each of these are in their own list brackets. And the reason why I did that is so if I run this, I can look at matchdf and it looks like this, which is basically a one-line version of all that information, so that if I want multiple games, it makes it way easier to view all that. So that is why I did that, although I didn't include the objective stuff. So I might honestly do the objective stuff in a different table. I'm kind of just going to shelve it for now. If you want to, you can. I'm not going to do it for the sake of this video because it's already getting really long. But next thing I want to do is I want to take all this, I want to put it into a function. So we're going to wrap this in a function. We're going to say define a function named process match JSON. And what I want is the match JSON itself. And then I want the PUU ID of the player that we're looking at. So if I do that, if I was to say process match JSON, in this case game, if you remember, because game was this, so get match data from ID, and then the player PUU ID was this ID here, which was Spica. So if I process that and I want that game with this player, sorry, I need to return match df, then it'll give me this data frame of that information. Takes 0 seconds to process all that data in 0 seconds. It's just, so that's our function here. We have processed that information, and if we were to do that for multiple games, I'll show you what that looks like. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to put it up here just so that we can run all that together, and then I can create some space for myself here. Let me actually, sorry, gotta make a quick change here. This is going to be match JSON. that ran earlier because we already defined game, so it made it a lot easier. But okay, we'll say, so if this is match IDs here, I can say match IDs equals that. And then also we don't need this anymore, so I can make this full screen so you can actually see everything. So match IDs is that. And then for match ID in match IDs, I want to, sorry, for match ID in match IDs, I want to get the match data. So game equals that. Region in this case is Americas. And then the match ID is match ID, like that. And then I want to process that game. So match df equals process match JSON game, and then PUID equals this. And what I'll do is I'll create a blank data frame. So we'll say df equals pd.dataframe with nothing in it. And what I want to do is I want to say df equals pd.concat df and then match df, which is just tacking on match df to the end of this empty data frame. So we're just going to keep adding. It's like an append. It's almost like append, essentially. That's what we're doing here. So let's try that. This will take some time. We might actually run into an API limit, but you can see it's doing each match. You can see the match IDs are changing as we go. We might eventually run into an API limit. We didn't actually. Nice. So now if I look at df, I can see all these games in such a nice format. I have all this information here. And if I wanted to, I could actually take this and put it into a Google Sheet, or I can take this data and manipulate it somehow. Like if I wanted to, for example, from this data frame, I want to grab, maybe just looking at it here, the average game duration. I can say game duration is this. And then if I want to do mean, I can get the mean. Like, so there's a lot of stuff you can do with data in general. And once you have it, the options are endless, right? So that is processing a game and what it looks like. It's pretty grueling the first time you do it, but after that, it's actually not that hard. You will run into API limits with this eventually. And for that, you might want to look into something called future sessions. So there's a package called requests futures. And then from the URL library package, there is retries. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else in particular. And then there's also, the regular futures, which is like concurrent futures. I don't know if you have to download anything for that or like pip install. I think it just, you already have it. So the way it looks, I'm going to copy paste this just so you can see, but these are the packages essentially. This is the only one that you would need to pip install if you've been following along this guide. So request futures, you'd have to grab that. But if you look at my Riot API tools package, you'll see what that looks like. It exists in certain functions where I'm threading and I'm doing multiple requests at once to try to, it essentially, like once I hit the API limit, it'll wait the amount of time required and then try again. So I don't have to sit there trying again every time. If you don't have a production key, you're gonna run into that limit very quickly. But if you get this far and you decide you have an idea for an application you wanna make, you can apply for a real production key. And if you get one, then you won't run into that issue anymore. Or if you know someone who has a production key and you want to work on a project with them, then you can take that angle, etc. So that's all I have for this video. That was processing a match. In the next video, I'll show you how to work with something called Dragon, which stands for Community Dragon, which is a community-based derivative of Data Dragon, and it's just better maintained. And so I like to use it. It's good for example, at the end of this, you see how all these perks are just numbers. It's a great way to turn all these numbers into actual words. So I'll show you how to do that. All right, I'll see you in the next video.